Hey, what's going on, everybody? Andrew here, back for our build review show. It is Friday, March 7th of 2025, and on this show, I bring users builds up live on stream, giving them personalized feedback and advice about things I think they can do differently in their builds to help improve their results and also help improve their post-contest sim ROIs. So we do this show on Fridays weekly at 5 p.m. Eastern. If you ever want to get signed up for a show, all you need to do is one of two things. One, you can either email us, or two, you can post in the office hours channel in Discord. Send us your date, your slate, and the site that you want reviewed, as well as the sport. And I will add you to the list for the next show and get you reviewed from there. But that's how you sign up for the show. Appreciate you guys tuning in here. We have 3 people signed up for the show today, and we are going to be kicking it off with some NBA review from Wednesday of this week. And we are going to be reviewing JB here. So why don't we get this up on the screen and we will jump right in. All right. Got SaberSim up here. So we're going to start in the contest tab as we always do. Now, contest selection. I do like, the idea of just like throwing one lineup in the fadeaway. The qualifiers are, like really, fun, super cool, I'll say. But they are super high variance, right? Like basically all of the equity in this contest is in winning first place. So they're not a great investment in my opinion. I've been down this road, myself in like trying and qualifying, and I did end up qualifying, but it was for the FanDuel MLB season like a couple years ago. I ended up qualifying and getting into a live final, but all in all, I like from all my qualifiers to like what I won at the live final, I ended up, losing money, like chasing live finals. Right. So just be careful with this, but I understand, they want to play them, they're obviously super fun, but either way, we're going to review the 4-point play today. So we will start with this contest and then open up our lineup pane and then jump over to users. So JB is our guy right here, right? 20 entries, sort by sim ROI. So these lineups are good, right? I actually really like this. I would say highest sim ROI is somewhere above 60%, and JB is at 62%. So this is great. Looks like he even had a positive day here. So what do we see about these lineups, right? 49.8 average salary, 2 average dupes, which is kind of interesting on a 7-game NBA slate. We're seeing 0 dupes, 1 dupes, 2 dupes, 3 dupes, 4 dupes, kind of seeing it all over the place here. I wouldn't say it's high enough where like I would actively be thinking about duplication. But it would lead me to say, well, if I'm playing like 4 or 5 game slates, maybe I should go and check to see if it ends up being a bigger problem around 4 to 5 games. And I need to start thinking about it there. Right. So where I start to think about duplication is when dupes gets into like the double digit area, as we approach 10 dupes, we start seeing high average dupes. That's kind of where I think it's important to start thinking about it. But overall, even with the 2 average dupes, sim ROI is still high here. Sim average score is within like the band that we always talk about, right? We always say like, you don't need to have the absolute highest sim average score, but there is a floor number that you need to meet, right? And it seems like we see like 295. I see a couple 295s, and then I see sim average scores all the way up to like 300. So as long as you're in within this like 295 to 300 range, and he's at 296, it seems good, right? So within their band here, and I don't think we're going to learn too much else from this screen, but I think that what we see is actually really good. So let's go into a build. Notice these lineups built 5 minutes prior to lock. So seems like JB has a very nice lean process here. And that process is allowing them to get their lineups done and in very, very quickly. And then they're using one swap build, right? So looks like there was 1, 2, 3 swap windows on this slate. They're running, their last swap was 6 minutes prior to the last game of the night. So it looks like they ran multiple late swaps and they did it all within one build, right? So running it within one build always simplifies the process here. So really like what I'm seeing all the way around so far. All right, so we go to this build 1. What do we see? See 5K lineups, default min and max. We see projection greater than 20, right? Pretty aggressive here. I would just say make sure you're confident in that number, right? I always say whenever you set a number, go scroll down, and it looks like they're hiding remove players, and make sure you're comfortable with the players that you're leaving out, right? And none of these players here very high owned at all, so I think it's fine. I'm just cautioning against using like this hard and fast rule of 20 fantasy points, because if you guys were in office hours earlier, we were talking about all the value tonight in Toronto and OKC, and a lot of it is because there's a bunch of 3K salary players, and you know, a 6 value is 18 points, right? And you would be leaving those players out. So just always, you know, put eyes on the players that you're leaving out. Go see where that line in the sand is being drawn, and then update your filter accordingly, right? But in this case, I think the filter of 20 is totally fine. So no problems there. Let's go and sort by exposure. No min or max. And I'm checking the individual columns. Nothing else there as well. So that's good. No rules. Nothing in team stacks. Nothing in games. So this is interesting. They're basically only allowing 2 stacks in their lineups. Now, I don't mind this idea of saying no more than 2 players per lineup, but I don't know how I feel about the stacks that they're choosing. So like, for instance, like, okay, like if you sort by stack type and you want to go through here and you don't want to play 3 stacks, I don't see the reason not to check 2, 2, 2, 2, and then 2 with 6 one-offs, right? Which is down on the bottom. If I remove my face, you can see it. So they're only allowing these 2, right? I would have probably included the other 2 and probably included no stacks. I don't know, you know, why they did this, but I would say, like, you know, think about it, right? Is okay, what are you trying to accomplish by allowing a 2-2 but not a 2-1-1-1 1-1-1 or something like that, right? Or like a no stack lineup. So this idea mostly comes from the fact that there is a only so many fantasy points that a team can score, and every shot one person takes is like a shot that another person is not taking. So I don't mind limiting the stack. So there is another way to do this, right? And this is kind of the way I prefer, is you go to rules and you go to add new rule, and then you go to group auto and you say use no more than 2, and then you group by team. So here you're saying, hey, I don't want to use 3 players from a team, and then you can accomplish that by setting this rule up. And then, you know, when you save this rule, it'll be there for all future slates, and that's another way to do it. So again, I'm speculating. I don't know the reason that they did this. I'm just giving my 2 cents as to you know, why I think they should include a couple more options here. But again, I don't mind with limiting the stack types. All right, good stuff there. Let's go over to lineups. And the other thing, right, is that their post-contest sim ROIs are obviously fine. So what they're doing is working. All right, so it looks like they used autofill. They used unique rank. Okay, so this is an interesting one here, right? We always talk about using unique rank and then sorting by prize pool. But in this case, right, because they have this one outlier contest with $100 entry fee, I probably would have dragged this one to the top, right? So, this is like probably a time where you could have sorted by fee rather than price pool. But just be aware of that, right? I mean, having $15 entry getting your top lineup, you might rather want your $100 entry to get your top lineup, right? So that's one thing. The other thing here is it looks like you've went through your rank by column and changed all of these to the specific contest. You don't have to do this, okay? So if we reset this and it just says ROI, when you go to your master sort and you go to contest sims, target ROI, target contest means that we are looking at the name of the contest and we are matching the rank by using the ROI for that contest name automatically. It is actually the same exact thing that you did. Going in here and changing it is what we are already doing. So you don't need to spend extra time setting that up, just so you know. But other than that, I think we're all set here. Really like a lot of what's going on here. Some small tweaks to do, but check out this segment. I think there's going to be some helpful tips and stuff that we covered. So let me know if there's any follow-up, but overall, good job and keep it up. All right. That was our first review today. And we have another one coming up. So actually hitting 3 different sports today. So kind of fun when that happens. Not something that we always do here, but next up is going to be an MMA review from this past Saturday, the 1st, and right on time for the next card coming up this weekend, I think. So last Saturday was a 12-fight card. Oh, I know it's wrong. All right. And we're going to be reviewing GC. So March 1st. And I'm just getting this slate pulled up. One sec. All right, cool. So coming up now, and what we will do is start in the contest tab as per usual. So let's go over to contests. All right, 4 contests, all good contests. Very happy with the contest selection here overall. Closer to like a 50-50 split here, which I think is fine. Let's go to this $2.20 max just because there's more lineups here. And we'll go over to users. So GC, it's our guy, 20 lineups, sort by sim ROI. All right, so this is kind of cool, right? Is this the max? Oh, yeah, it was. So 20 lineups. He is the top sim ROIer in this contest. And he actually had a pretty decent day, right? 151% actual ROI. This is good. So, oops, let's fix that view. But what do we see? 49.3 average salary, 4 average dupes, pretty in line. 1 unique, 421 sim average score, which is kind of on the higher side, right? We see a lot of lower numbers, 417, kind of in the middle, 409. We see a 430, 414. So staying right in the middle of the pack with sim average score, pretty normal, or middle of the pack with average dupes, right? Like the person with 430 has 6 average dupes. The person with where was it? 408 has 3 average dupes, and then GC has 4 average dupes, right? So really good set of lineups. Nice to see them, get some good actual ROI out of that. And I don't think we're going to learn too much more here. All right. So it looks like there's 2 builds. Only one of them has lineups. So we will go to the build with lineups. And what do we see? So we see 47.2 minimum salary. So messing around with minimum a little bit. Maximum 49.8. So getting rid of, max salary lineups by default, getting rid of 49.9 lineups by default. All of this, trying to account for duplication, I'm sure. So some small salary adjustments. I like these, not too big, not too crazy, but just trying to get rid of, the highest, most likely to be dupe lineups usually are max salary. All right. Default rule, don't use opposing fighters. Looks good. No min or max exposures. Pretty hands-off here. Pretty hands-off build overall. So that's good. Looks like they're doing most of their work like in the settings and then in the post contest, or I'm sorry, like the post build. So what do we see? So I'm not sure if they use direct or autofill. It almost seems like they use direct fill. We see one filter, ROI greater than 0. What do they do? This isn't making like full sense to me what's going on here between like the direct and auto, but I'm just going to roll with it. Like they're sorting by ROI. They have average projection, ROI aggregate metrics. They have an ROI filter. They're using unique rank. And it looks like, they're analyzing their lineups in some way, shape, or form, and then filling these accordingly, right? So big things, getting a unique lineup in every entry. When you don't have that many entries, I think that's probably a better thing to do. I only like to start overlapping when, I'm playing 100, 200 entries, stuff like that, right? So all in all, I think that they're doing a lot of the right things here. I'm actually really surprised how hands-off their build was, considering, how good their post-contest sim ROI was and actual ROI. But it just kind of shows you, a couple small tweaks, couple fine-tune adjustments can like really go a long way. And the settings seem to be like the biggest thing here. The filters and just post-build decisions about, where they are happy with their leverages and stuff like that all seem to kind of work out. So I would say stick with it. It seems like a really lean process, and it seems like something that probably doesn't take you too much time. So that's great. You get good lineups in, get to have a nice sweat, and you didn't spend too much time doing it. So going to be a little bit of a shorter one here. Not too much to say, but oftentimes that is a good thing. All right. So good work, GC. Next up is going to be our last review. This is going to be a follow-up from last week. So I tried to review Jim on the show last week, ran into a little bit of trouble doing that, and then ended up sending a personalized video to him. And so I got that to him before Cup Race on Sunday, and I think that he used some of those tips and seeing how he did after making those adjustments. So I'm going to get Jim up on the screen right now. Nika said, good luck, Andrew. Good luck to you too, Nika. And let's see. All right. Cool beans. So got the screen up here. Cup race from this last Sunday. Going to go to the contest tab. And contest selection looks really good, right? Really happy with what we're seeing here. Let's, what do we want to check out? Let's check out the mini-max. Most entries that this user had here. Entering less than the max, which is totally okay. Okay, let's go to leaderboard. Actually, let's go to users. All right, 25 entries. So we're going to go to greater than or equal to 25. All right, so last week I'm like almost positive we were negative sim ROI. So this week we are positive 3.73 sim ROI. So this is definitely a step in the right direction. We got to iterate on these things. We got to continue to improve it and get better and better. So I think last week, if I remember correctly, we were like negative 19%. So to go from negative 19% sim ROI to positive 3% is a big jump. Okay. So we just need to keep moving down that road and seeing what we see. So 49.1 average salary. Average salaries vary a ton here. 47.7, 48.5, 49, 46.9, 47.5, like kind of all over the place. Average salaries from like 46.9 all the way up to like 49.1, right? Which is like where you're at. So super interesting there. Average dupes, big range, all the way from 1 to 12. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 12, varying a ton here as well. And then sim average score, 184, which seems pretty in line with some of these other users with like a similar average dupes. Like, okay, 4 average dupes, 181 sim average score, very high sim ROI. And then Jim has 4 average dupes, 184.2 sim average score, but a lower ROI. So this is interesting, right? I always like to kind of compare these and just be like, why does somebody with similar metrics grade out so differently, right? And then what I would normally do is just like go in and use the plus magnifying glass. It isolates this user's entries. Then I can go over to projections, and then I can look at this person's exposure. So the exposures are being graded based off of the plus magnifying glass. So it looks like they were a little under on the highest owned driver. And did they take any big shots? And they got some leverage on like some lower owned drivers, right? What's standing out to me is Cindric is like is in the 36th position, very, very high owned. But then there are other drivers in other low positions that are a lot lower owned, and this user took shots on those guys. So, for instance, they have like double exposure on the 34th driver, the 32nd driver, the 30th driver, the 33rd driver, the 35th driver. So like even 31st, right? It's like basically everybody who was toward the back that was not as high owned as Cindric, they took shots on those guys, right? They got leverage here. I don't know, if that is exactly what's causing the higher sim ROI, but it definitely seems interesting. And you could go and look at other users, right? Like, hey, did other users do this in this same range, right? So I'm trying to compare, your lineups to people of similar style, right? You can look at these players with 5 average dupes and similar same average scores, and increase your sample, right? Those are all really good things to do. But then I would go look at your lineups, right? Like, okay, what do your lineups look like? And then it's like, okay, you're actually over on Cindric. And how were you on some of these lower drivers, right? The same ones, like no exposure to 32, no exposure to 34, some exposure to 30, no exposure to 33, right? So like these are the differences that I'm seeing. It's like, hey, back of, the starting line drivers are good, but maybe if you can get some at lower ownership, that might be something that you want to explore, right? So that is like one big thing standing out to me here. And that's not something that you're going to just be able to see on the user screen, right? We got to dig a little deeper sometimes to figure out that information. So that's one thing I'm noticing here. You can go and check other users, at your own time and stuff, but remember that, and, do additional research as needed. Now, jumping into the build, 45.5 min, 50K max, no filters or rules, no min or max exposures. Let's go into the lineups page. Autofill, rank fill, no uniques, target ROI, projection ROI, aggregate metrics, 3 filters, geomean, projected score, and ROI. So these are all good ones. I recommend these. I like these a lot. This all looks good. So seems like there's a little bit more like of a little game theory angle and like some game theory stuff happening with some of these higher sim ROI users, or at least the one that we looked at. So I've spent a little bit of time there, right? But I hope that kind of points you in the right direction as to like where to look next. But all in all, we've gone from 2 weeks, right, negative 19% to positive 3%. We're moving in the right direction, and we just got to keep moving, right? We just got to keep iterating. What did we find this week? What did we find this week, right? And just keep going, building. So good stuff, moving in the right direction. Happy to review your lineups again. So hopefully you have a good Sunday here. All right, question in the chat. To get a lineup review, do I attach my CSV file to an email? I'm not sure of the procedure on how to send my lineups. Thanks. So you don't need to send your lineups at all. I can access your lineups the way I'm doing this right now. Like I am looking at the user's builds and the user's profile. So all you need to do. Sorry. I want you to review my NBA lineups from Thursday, March 6th for the DK main slate. If you say that in email or office hours, I got it. I'll get everything I need from there and I'll get it set up. But you do not have to physically send us your lineups. All you need to do is just let me know the date, sport, slate, and site that you want me to review, and I will take it from there. I will ask any follow-up if I need to. All right. Nika, I still don't see how to translate the sim ROI and contest flashback to the sims on a current day. I've tried. Any videos that explain the process? Can we pull up other users' entries so that we can see other metrics like ROI, GeoMean, Saber score, and so on? So you can't transfer somebody's lineups into a build. You can only view them kind of the way I was doing right now, right? So like these aren't my lineups, or like even if I was, Jim here, right? And we go to the mini max again. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to learn from this, right? Kind of like the way we were just doing. Like, okay, hey, maybe I'm not like the top user, right? And maybe I'm just looking at like maxers. I start by maxers, and like maybe my ROI is like closer to like 10%. Well, like what are the sometimes not super clear, right? So then sometimes like, okay, I want to go review Mark, right? Okay, I can go to Mark, I can go to leaderboard, and then I can go and I can see what his lineups look like. I can see the sim metrics, all the ROIs and stuff here on a per lineup basis are from the post contest sim. So like when we ran it through the post contest sim, this is how this lineup graded out, right? He had this lineup finished 42nd, 5,900 actual ROI, and his sim ROI of that lineup was 81%. So like this was we thought that this was a good lineup. You see the actual score, some ownership, projected score. Can't see the Saber score, but you can see post contest sim ROI here. So this is like the easiest way to review other users is go to users, click the plus magnifying glass. You can go to leaderboard to see their lineups, or when you do this, right, we could watch here on the projection. We could see the actual ownership and the exposures match until we come in and we hit the plus magnifying glass on somebody, and then it updates, right? And then now I am seeing the exposures for the person that we are filtering for. So we're using this to try and learn things and try and make updates to our process, and hopefully, reiterate on our own process. And it's kind of like like a model mimic master approach a little bit, right? So think about it like that. But all right, those were our reviews today. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I will be back tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, for office hours on Saturday. So appreciate you guys. Good luck tonight. And until then, take care. Thanks. Bye.